some people say it's in Europe, some people say it's in Asia. Some people get very pissed whatever you say, and most people don't really care. Let's say that Georgia is located at the borders of Asia and Europe, and it gets the best from both territories. Let's check it out. Hello Internet, welcome to Lex Universe. This is the conclusion of my trip to Georgia. I hope you enjoyed the previous videos. If you haven't seen them, go watch them. I will leave you the link for the whole playlist in the upper right corner. In this video I want to share you some of the most important, or at least according to me, the most useful tips and points whenever you want to travel to Georgia, and I hope you will find them useful. Before we begin, let me welcome all the new subscribers. You're great. I hope you will stick with me, and in case you haven't subscribed yet, consider doing it, because it costs you nothing and it will help me a great deal. Thank you, and now let's go to Georgia. So, you want to go to Georgia? Well, good for you, because I think it's a very good idea. But before you go, let's check out where Georgia actually is. Well, you can find it in the Caucasion region at the borders between Europe and Asia. It borders with several countries. It's Russia to the north, Turkey and Armenia to the south, and then Azerbaijan to the east. To the west it borders the Black Sea. So it could be an interesting tourist resort in summer. So if you are searching for some unusual summer vacation, Georgia may be a great thing, but believe me, it's so much more. So don't stay on the beach. My point number one is, you can see the map of Georgia everywhere in Georgia. It looks like this. Well, unfortunately, that's not the only Georgia that we know. I mean, I don't count the American Georgia, I mean the state of the USA, but if you go to Russia, you will see a completely different map of Georgia, because there are two regions, Abkhazia and South Ossetia, that Georgia considers part of their territory, and the United Nations in general considers them as well. But in Russia and strangely some other countries like Syria or, well, I don't know why, but Nauru, do consider them as separate republics. The truth is, they have declared independence, and right now they do control their territory, but they are very heavily Russian influenced. If you want to travel to these regions, it is generally not very recommended from both sides, but generally you have two possibilities. You go there from Georgia or you go there from Russia. If you want to go from Georgia, you have to have a special permission from the Georgian government to visit them, and it takes a long time to cross the border actually, because it's heavily guarded. If you want to go there from Russia, you generally can, but it's illegal from the Georgian point, so unless you want to piss your friends in Georgia, don't do that. And also, just consider, if you go there, you will need a multiple Russian visa, because, oh, well, I believe you will want to leave the countries, and you will not be allowed to get from Russia to Abkhazia, for example, and then to Georgia. Now, let's leave the controversial topics behind, and let's talk about the Georgia proper, or the Georgia as it controls its territory. So everything I will be now mentioning from this point on will consider Georgia minus Abkhazia and South Ossetia. So my second point is some general info that you will find handy if you want to come there. The official currency of Georgia is Georgian lari, which you can get for, let's say, some 5 lari for 1 euro. They use the type C or E, or just the standard European plug outlet. They usually don't flush the toilet paper unless you are in some high-end hotels, and they drive on the right side of the road. Now, moving on to the point number 3, how to get to Georgia. Well, you generally have a lot of options actually. Well, in most cases I would say that you will fly to the country. There are 3 international airports in Georgia. There is the Tbilisi International Airport, Kutaisi and Batumi, which has been reopened quite recently. Most international flights go to Tbilisi, which is via Dubai, Istanbul and Munich, connected with the rest of the world, and if you would travel there from anywhere, this may be your best option. But on the other hand, if you're flying from Europe, it may be an interesting thing to consider that you may fly to Kutaisi, where there is a base for the Wizz Air, and there are many very cheap flights from many places around Europe. If you want to get from the airport, there's this company, Georgian Bus Company, which you will find the link for in the description down below, which is a lifesaver. You can book your tickets online. They are connected to the flights, departures and arrivals, and they will take you from any of these 3 airports to many other cities and towns around Georgia. So it doesn't mean that if you fly to Kutaisi airport, you'll have to get to the city of Kutaisi. That's not the case. You may go from there to Tbilisi, Batumi, Kazbegi, wherever you want. If you don't want to fly to the country, there are some other possibilities. There are some international buses that go from Baku, Azerbaijan, and also from Turkey. And there are also some marshutkas from the neighboring countries. There's also an international train between Tbilisi and Baku. There used to be a train that went from Tbilisi via Armenia to the city of Kars in Turkey, but has been closed ever since the whole Nagorno-Karabakh conflict that started some 30 years ago. So that's not the option anymore, but you can also come by train from Azerbaijan. If you're interested in the train schedules, you will find them in the link that I will leave you down below, but I will get to trains in my next point, which is point number 4, how you get around. Now, before I will get to all the public transportation, I would like to mention that the most convenient way how to get, especially within the cities or the municipal areas, is to go by a taxi. And by a taxi, I don't mean that you will hail a taxi in the street, although you can do that and it's fairly simple. But there are several apps that you may use to call for a taxi. There is Bolt, you know how to use Bolt, but there is also this app called Yandex.Go, which you may remember from my video from Kyrgyzstan, and this is basically Bolt for these post-Soviet countries, and it's used very widely there, and it's a lot more popular than Bolt. Although consider that it's not functioning in all regions of the country. For example, we went to the Kutaisi airport, you could use it there, we got to Kutaisi, but then within the city of Kutaisi it wasn't working. So check in advance, better get all these 3 apps. Yeah, I forgot one app, it's called Maxim, and it's just really a Georgian app for ordering a normal taxi. Now, why I'm telling you this, taxis are very reliable, and like you see, ordering a taxi is very simple and they are extremely cheap. Like for example, we went some 5 kilometers from Kutaisi to some suburb, and we paid for the one way, let's say an equivalent of €1, maybe €1.50. So it's very affordable, very cheap, and maybe a good option. But if you don't want to go by a taxi and you want to meet the local people, there are some other possibilities. There is a very good public transportation. Most of it consists of these marshrutkas. You will find them in every city. They have some predetermined road and you may get in. The fare starts at some half a lari, so it's a lot cheaper than the taxi, but you know, a lot less convenient. And also you will probably need to read Georgian, or at least, ask someone if you want to know where to get. There is also a metro system in Tbilisi, kind of reliable. I cannot say from my own experience because when we were there all the public transportation was closed because of COVID, but I believe it will be a very useful tool if you are ever in Tbilisi. And all these cities also have a very good modern bus network, and when we talk about the intercity buses, they're actually quite modern, air-conditioned with a room for your luggages, and you can usually buy the ticket online beforehand, which is very useful and very good. Your last option how to get around is by train. Just consider trains are quite slow in Georgia. You can even go as far as to Baku in Azerbaijan, and most of the tickets can be bought online, although I have heard that some people had a problem with this, but you can buy them on the website I'll put you the link for in the description below. Or you can just go to the train station and buy it there, because I can assure you that people will try to help you if you ask. Now, moving on from the transportation, let's talk about the Georgian language, because this is kind of a bummer. I mean, I love it. I simply really love it. It's one of the weirdest languages I've ever seen. They use their own script, which you can see now on the screen, and as you can see, it really looks like some Elvish script created by Tolkien. I kind of really suspect him that this is where he got his inspiration from, but it's actually quite easy to learn how to read this. It's only some 30 letters, so if you learn it beforehand, it will be very useful for you later. I don't know what your language is, but the translation into your language may be quite different from the official English one. I mean, look at the name of Schéta. This is how you write it in English, and this is how they write it in Czech. I mean, it doesn't look alike at all, but that's something that you have to get used to, because their language has a lot of weird sounds and weird consonants, like it's like you're about to vomit and then you will produce a word somehow. I don't know how to speak Georgian. I don't understand Georgian. The language is not similar to anything else in the world. I just simply know how to read. Not out loud, because it's really difficult to pronounce it. So bottom line is, you can get some Georgian phrase book, and it would be nice. You can learn some easy words like gamajoba, which means hello, or maloba, which means thank you, but I wouldn't really recommend you to try to pronounce some very difficult words, because they may not understand you actually. But luckily, most younger people speak fairly good English. I never had a problem with communicating in English with anyone. And the older generations usually speak Russian, although there is a kind of a, I don't want to say war, there's a kind of a cold war between Georgia and Russia at the moment. So if you speak Russian to someone, they may not like it very much. Now let's talk about prices. Well, I will try to summarize it with one sentence. Georgia is cheap, like really ridiculously cheap. When I think about the cheapest countries I've ever visited, I think I'm kind of trying to decide whether it was Kyrgyzstan or whether it was Georgia. I think it really depends where you are. The cities are usually generally more expensive than the countryside, but that kind of you can say about any country. But Georgia is definitely cheaper than West Europe, even than Central Europe, when I consider it with Prague, which is also kind of expensive for the Czech context. But also when you consider Georgia with Eastern Europe, let's say like Ukraine, Belarus, it's still a little bit cheaper. Like I said, the taxi for 5 kilometers within the city, it costs some €1. You pay for a half liter beer, you'll pay something like, I don't know, 80 cents, maybe even less. So that's really affordable. I believe if you want some cheap holiday and you find some cheap flight tickets to Georgia, you should definitely go there, because you will enjoy every part of it. Now, the prices bring me to my next point, and that's the cuisine. I mean, if you come to Georgia, please don't eat at McDonald's. You need to taste all of these amazing dishes that you will find in Georgia. I mean, just look at some examples. There is one of the staple dishes in Georgia. There's the khachapuri, or in this case, khachapuri ajuruli. You can see it looks amazing. Then another very famous Georgian meal is hinkali. These dumplings filled with cheese or meat, and well, they don't really have any taste, but you can either put it into some sauce, or you can use some salt, pepper. It's a very cheap possibility how to get well fed all the time, but just don't stay with the dumplings, you know. By the way, this is something that they eat in the large volumes. Like when you talk about the Georgians, they're never full and they never stop drinking. I mean, I can do a lot, but I'm nothing when I compare myself to the Georgian people. Really amazing. Another famous Georgian dish, although in this case it's kind of a group name for everything, for every kind of meat put into the oven or on the grill on a stick. It's swadi. And well, I think you have tasted it in many Eastern European or Central Asian cuisines. It's very tasty if you are a meat person. And another staple product from Georgia is chuchela. It's this jelly thing that's produced while making traditional Georgian wine. So it's directly from the grapes, it's very healthy, and it lasts very long. So it's a perfect source of energy for any kind of high mountain hikes. Now, speaking of wine, Georgians, I already said it in 2 of my videos, are extremely alcoholic. It's a country where basically wine was born. They have been producing it since some 300 BC, and they're actually one of the oldest wine producing countries or regions in the world, and you can see it everywhere. There are so many vineyards, especially in the Caucasion region in the eastern Georgia. You will find the vineyards everywhere, wineries, wine cellars, and well, basically everyone drinks wine there. Georgian wine is not exactly sweet, it's a little bit sour, to be honest. Not exactly my cup of wine, pun intended, but definitely something worth trying, especially if you like alcohol like me. I mean, so many people tell me that I'm an alcoholic. When I was in Georgian, I was like, yeah, you are our person. So maybe I am, because it's the whole nation of alcoholics. Anyway, talking about drinking, they have some very good brands beer. I would mention here Natahtari, which, by the way, has some 10% alcohol in some of their beers. It's some of the strongest beers I've ever drunk, and well, I kind of like it. And when we get to even stronger things, let me mention cha-cha. Cha-cha! Well, cha-cha is this schnapps or distilled alcoholic drink that you drink in shots, and it's basically produced from the waste from the wine production. It's very famous in Georgia. The version that you will find in most of the supermarkets or shops, it's some 45% of alcohol, but many people produce this at home, and then the alcohol amount varies between 40 and 90% of alcohol. So if you want to get blind, get a cha-cha from some home-produced distillery. Now, alcohol brings me to the point number 8, and that's the people. Guys, I've never met more friendlier people than in Georgia. They're so great, they're so open-minded, they're so open to you, they will take you to their homes and they will share whatever they have with you, and that's just who they are. I mean, you will find some idiots now and then, almost everywhere, but like Georgians are like, let's say, the Canadians of the Caucasus. They're so great. I mean, we've been traveling with this travel agency, Gamarjoba Georgian Tours. I will find the link for them in the description below. But we went on a trip to the Kazakh region, and well, what happened? We basically ended up with their owner and some of their employees sitting till some 2 o'clock in the morning in their office, which by the way looked really cool and modern and amazing. And we went drinking first some beer that I still have left, and they offered us wine from their own locally produced home wineries. And then the owner actually gave us some Lebanese, I don't know, shot. And I got so drunk, and it was one of the best evenings I've had in the whole my whole stay in Georgia, but also in general. Like, you know, the last 2 years were quite hard, and when you're like sitting on the balcony in Tbilisi and just like drinking with some random people that you've just met and talking about basically everything, it's really amazing. And it's not just them, it's just the general rule in Georgia, and I love it. Now, my last point is the climate. I was really surprised when I went to Georgia because I was expecting it will be very cold. Well, nothing could be further from the truth. Just consider that Kutaisi or Tbilisi are in the same latitude as, for the example, Istanbul, or some just a few degrees above or below. And, well, the weather is the same. So they have very warm, very dry summers with very high temperatures. Even in the mountains, we were quite high in the Caucasus and in the Caspian region, and honestly, it was really still quite warm. It was a lot windier, so maybe you wanted to get a hoodie or something on you, but it was definitely not winter weather. On the other hand, winters, especially in the mountains, are very cold, very windy, and very snowy. So it really depends when you want to go there, but you can go to the very top of the Caucasus, to the city of Gudari in winter, and it's actually quite a famous ski resort. That's what you picture when you think of Georgia, right? Snowy mountains, Caucasus, Elbrus. It's not in Georgia, but you know. But there are also the beaches, which are great in summer, and they stay quite warm during the whole year. I mean, Tbilisi itself, in winter, it's not definitely shorts weather, but there is rarely any snow. It's not that cold as you may think. And, well, when you go in the streets of Kutaisi or even Tbilisi, there are palm trees on the streets. So, well, that should tell you a lot. My last point is basically kind of a conclusion, what you should do if you come to Georgia. And I honestly go there for a month and do everything because I get never tired of this. But I kind of really enjoyed the stay there. There are a lot of amazing things that you can do in the cities, like Kutaisi, Tbilisi. They are very old, ancient cities where you'll find a lot of architectural landmarks, castles, fortresses, churches. It looks so great just walking the old streets and letting the spirit of the place absorb you. It's beautiful. And then you get out of the city and you are in the nature, and come on guys, that's beautiful. If you go to the north, you'll get to some of the most amazing mountainous passes and mountain tops that you have ever seen, because the Caucasus is just amazing. It's beautiful. They have even their kind of a dog, Caucasian shepherd, which looks like a bear, and I would really want one, but I would die because well, I could barely take care of my hamster. Oh, I'm getting off topic. So that's something, but then when you go to the south, you will see the vineyards and the beautiful meadows, and well, it's also beautiful. So you'll find almost everything in Georgia, and that's probably, to me, one of the best reasons why to go there. When you add the perfect cuisine, all the amazing people, the great landscape, and the architecture of the Georgian Orthodox Church, come on guys, what better place would you want to visit? So I hope I hyped you enough for Georgia. As you could see, I'm still pretty excited about this country, and I really hope that I will be able to go there again and meet all the amazing people that I met there, and I hope many of you will as well. But that's the end of my Georgia series for now, unfortunately. We will continue with other videos. I have some other countries prepared for you. We'll start with Canada quite soon, but Georgia, it's over for now. If you enjoyed this video, please go watch the previous videos from the series. I think you will enjoy the views of the country even more, and you will get a lot more info actually, like directly from the spot. And subscribe to my channel, ring the notification bell so that you don't miss any of the future videos. Go check out my other social media, and see you in the next video. Have a wonderful day.